What's up, family? I'm J. Dwayne Garnett with Love is a Parable, and we are actually on location. You saw the beautiful form in the beginning? Well, we're here at RambleRill. So I'm here with Darin, or former Darin. Is that what you go by?
Farmer D sometimes.
Former D?
Yeah.
I like it. So tell people about you and tell them a little bit about RambleRill, and then I'll ask you a couple of questions.
Awesome. Yeah. I am actually a trained neuroscientist and just retired from the University of North Carolina. And I'm switching my perspective, if you will, in my day-to-day activities to focus more on our farm here in Hillsboro. It's a farm that we envisioned perhaps as early as 2008 and got started with building our barn and getting our fields growing in 2010. And it's been a one project per year every year since then, and meeting new people, joining the community, and looking forward to what 2022 and 2023 looks like.
Okay, so RambleRill is a manifestation of something you've been planning since 2008.
We've been building it since then, a little bit every year. You know how things go. Can't do everything all at once, especially with farming, especially when I was full-time working at the university, and Jane was actually full-time working in her own business at the same time for a while before she came out here full-time.
Okay.
And so now that we're together since June of this year, pushing everything forward together, we can say we've got two full-time hands here now finally.
Got you. Well, Jane is his wife, guys, in case you don't know. And if you see anything darting past the screen, that might be her. She's like literally the fastest woman I've ever met. So tell me a little bit about the name. How did we come up with this name for the farm?
RambleRill, we were looking for a name that was unique. I think you admit that it's unique. It may even be seemingly weird. But we looked at things like Wildflower Farm, and it turns out there's 37 of those in the country. We didn't want that. We couldn't get the domain name. We couldn't, get all that. And so we learned that a small intermittent name in an archaic British Isle language, if you will, is a rill.
Okay.
It's stream, an intermittent stream. And then, of course, it rambles across our farm behind us. So it became RambleRill. And goodness knows, there was no RambleRill anywhere else in the country.
Yeah, you're the only RambleRill I know.
So that's how it stuck, simple as that.
Oh, love it. So for guys you don't know, that RambleRill is also our season sponsor as well. So we're gonna make sure that you guys know a lot about the different things that are coming up. Matter of fact, after the show, we'll be sure to show you a series of events that they have coming up. So when you started this farm, what was the heart behind the farm? Because it's not an average farm. Y'all have events going on here. It's not just out here plowing and having, some agriculture. You're really incorporating a lot of things. So,
right. Yeah, there's a lot of things that came together to kind of build the mission, spirit, and values of this place. And over time, we sort of were interested in initially just growing our own food. Not really big fans of big ag, not really big fans of industrial food, things like that.
Gotcha.
And that was a personal thing for both of us to get into that. And Jane was leaning more and more towards vegetarianism, and eventually became completely vegetarian. And so growing our own food became more and more important there in that space. And then ultimately we learned about organics, certified organic status, and we said, well, that fits with what we're about. So we pursued getting our certification for our organics. And then as we began to think about ourselves more, we began looking outward a little bit and saying, okay, how can we connect with community about this stuff? And we began going to farmers markets and teaching the story of what we're about and providing fresh, certified organic produce. And so that was another piece of it. And then we said, well, what about if we bring some of that online or to our farm?
Right.
Bring it home, if you will. And that's where the events things started happening. We can bring people in for a variety of reasons, to buy things, to attend events, to have their own dances, whatever it may be, but then we sell them the story, if you will, more than we sell them the vegetables, just to have them connect with our farm, to further define our farm as something different than a grocery store, something different than even some other farms. Eventually COVID hit, and we really had to redo things, rethink things, and we went online, literally online, to get our sales switched over in 2020. And at that time we said, well, now what happens to our community outreach? Well, it took a hit. But eventually, through the pandemic, we began thinking about, okay, now it's time to open back up again to in-person sorts of conversations and visits and so on. We've had a lot of events since then, from arts groups to Love is Apparable and other groups here that we're just thrilled about. And that's kind of where we are today, is expanding all of that.
Love it. So now I'm going to shift gears just a minute, just for a second. What do you want to be most known for in this earth? How do you want to leave your presence?
We want to leave many things behind, if you will. Perhaps the most philosophically challenging one is that we want to leave breadcrumbs for humanity to find its way back after we're gone. If you will, that's a tough one. We can develop that one a little bit. But we want to leave this land, this space. It's land that we currently are occupying. It's land that we are currently working, preserving, protecting. But we want to make sure that it's here forever. And that the spirit of the place lasts, and the dirt lasts, the soil lasts. We're actually trying to expand the farm so we can put more land ultimately in the long term, even after we're gone, into a conservation so that it's preserved actually forever, and hopefully preserved for farming forever. Beyond that, I guess personally we like to think that we can connect with the community in a pretty intentional way, whether it be through the arts, through food, through expanding not only our farm, but expanding our farm's influence and all that went into that. Hence the connections we're making this year and hopefully in the next with a variety of groups.
Wow, I'm gonna tell you now, breadcrumbs for humanity to find its way really stuck with me, because one of the foundational principles of Love is Apparable, a lot of people don't know unless they take one of the classes, is returning. And so it's so aligned with our mission because we help people return back to them. And so a lot of times we live life as a product of interactions and responses. So based on how people treat us or how people tell us we are, we tend to believe that's our identity, when we're really something outside of that. And we want people to, strip themselves of all of that and return to their organic self. Because I feel like sometimes we lose ourselves and who we're expected to be versus who we're created to be. So you really tapped into something that we're passionate about.
Yeah, the truth of who we are is the most powerful thing, and that it happens to resonate with the common word organic. That's another loss. I didn't lose that. But there's truth in food created well.
Right.
And that's something that sticks to us.
Well, I'm sure a lot of people want to connect with you. What's the best way to connect with you, Farmer B, Farmer Jane, RambleRill?
We're easy to find on the internet, RambleRillFarm.com. We have our emails there, our phone numbers are there. The Facebook page, RambleRill Farm, is easy to access. So I think those are the easiest ways. Instant Messenger, we even have an Instagram page, which we're not using very well, and all of those things.
We're going to change that up. At least you're doing good with Facebook. We're going to change it. So guys, if you haven't had a chance, make sure you check out all the things RambleRill, and we'll be sure to include more of that information. Farmer B, thank you for taking the time out with us. Thank you for being a season sponsor, and we'll be connecting soon.
Thank you, Jay Dwayne.